Welcome. I'm Nick Edgar.
And I'm Jess Frost.
And we are the co-founders of the 3E Space. This is our podcast. Have you got space for this?
An unscripted and unplanned podcast dedicated to curious, messy, and imperfect conversations about the human experience.
Each week we will pick a topic at random that you, the audience, has said, I'd love to see Jess and Nick explore this topic. So without further ado, grab yourself a cuppa, let's explore, get energized, and feel empowered together.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Hello.
Hello.
Joining from home.
Le cottage.
Le cottage. Few tech issues, let's say. Yeah, second week, isn't it? Don't know. Is it planets? I don't know. But Mercury retrograde, I'm hearing. But no, sadly, last week we had a problem with the video where it was quite jarring, wasn't it? It wasn't syncing properly, and the problems continued this week. So we thought, do we leave it? Do we try from home? My perfectionist is like, no, it's not going to look the same, but it's important to us. This podcast is really important, and you guys watching it and listening to it are really important to us, and we wanted to give it a go, whether this goes out or not.
Yeah, it remains to be seen. But I think, but for us, the important thing was to at least give it a go.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that as recently as 5 minutes ago. But it's one of those things, isn't it? When it's not just about tech, but when things don't go your way, like, how do you respond to that?
Not great this week.
Talk to me about that.
Let me just consult how I feel today with the feelings wheel, and then I'll compare it to the other day.
Okay.
So today, I actually feel really optimistic, courageous, fulfilled. Like, the sun's been out, hasn't it, for the last couple of days. We've been like getting out and about, hiking in the local area. Had some new really exciting inquiries, had some great calls with people. So today I feel really, really grateful. The week is actually ending on a really good note, but fuck me, honestly, on that day when we couldn't get the podcast to work, when we couldn't get the tech to work, it was dark. Like I shared on my social that evening, didn't I, about my messy days, my dark days, because it would be really easy for parts of me to mask and pretend that everything's fine and I'm just going to be smiley like I have done my whole life. But I've hidden so much of those dark days, so much of the overstimulation, complete chaos that happens inside me. And like, I go down rabbit holes of like wanting to know why I am the way I am on certain days. It's like I fucking just forget what part of my cycle I'm in.
Yeah, well, we both did.
41 years old. Still not managed to like regularly map out my hormone and my cycles. So, I've mentioned in the past about PMDD and run up to periods and stuff. And I don't know whether that's it. Is that it? Or is it my high sensitivity or my neurodivergence? Is it trauma, complex PTSD? Like, I went down that rabbit hole.
But that's a rabbit hole that has no end.
No.
Like, there is no clear answer. And really,
no rabbits.
Is it worth even trying to work out the why and just accept the what is?
I had to just literally accept it. Like, oh my God. The waves of emotions from starting the day feeling really joyous to then moving into like really fearful and then fucking raging and then really depressed and like, I wouldn't say suicidal ideation, but when I do read more up about PMDD and understand it, like on the real dark days, there are parts of me that are like, I just can't do this. Like, that's the narrative that is going on inside me. Like, I just cannot do this anymore.
Yeah,
Everything's too much.
that was exactly how you described it. That's what you verbalized.
It's like I'm gonna combust. Like whatever's happening inside me, I'm like, I just cannot do this anymore. And I think you've really helped me this month to notice some things that I hadn't kind of noticed before when it comes to my cycles, which is on the run up to my cycle, like in that kind of premenstrual phase. Like rather than slow down, I like rev up, don't I? And like my perfectionist will take the wheel, my like hustler will take the wheel, the overworker, the hyper independent, the rescuer, like they're all going crazy. And I do wonder whether like that rage inside me is almost like that parentified part of me that's just done. She's the one that's like, I'm fucking done with you all. Like, why are we hustling? Why are we hustling? Why are we still doing this behavior? So it's like probably like real pure exhaustion and burnout and just some really old conditioned behaviors. But yeah, it was not pleasant. We were like opposite this pub beer garden where I swear to God, people were probably filming whatever like was happening for me as you were trying to calm me down. Like even just like you saying like, oh, I'm worried about you, and I'm like, they're the most triggering words that you could ever say to me.
I know that was like one of those
Oh
Matrix
God.
moments of like, I'm really worried about you, and then wanting to take it back, but couldn't take it back because I know that that's a really triggering phrase.
Oh,
Um, and obviously, had I had the self-awareness in that moment, I wouldn't have said it. But nevertheless, I think it's important to just want to explore what you said there about trying to calm you down. Actually, I don't know if I was trying to calm you
no.
down. I think I was, because I think it's one thing I've really learned is that when it comes to experiences that any of us, because of our trauma, have repressed, it's important that when we're in the moment that we can have some kind of a corrective experience.
Yeah.
So I think for you, freedom of expression here is really important. And then for me as your partner, I think it's about holding that as much as I can.
Bless you,
And
man. Fuck.
it's very imperfect and tricky to do because I'm having my own experiences.
Mm,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
But I think that I've noticed now that we both collectively have awareness around all of these things, doesn't stop it from happening. It doesn't stop the intensity when we're in it, but actually the behaviors of us both have evolved
Mm,
and continue to evolve because we pay attention to it. And I'm really proud of us for that.
yeah.
So if you don't have days like we had the other day, how are you going to know how far forward you've actually moved? So
So true.
it, I'm not brushing over it because I'd rather it hadn't happened, but the fact it
Mm,
happens, that's the gold that comes from that experience. It's realizing how much further forward we've both individually and as a couple moved on, and that's really important.
but I'm just so grateful for you because I know for my anger and that those parts of me that hold those big, big hot emotions, that can be really activating for parts of you. But you're right. I think like me being able to lean in vulnerably
Mm.
to you as a man and let you hold that all of those big emotions for me is a huge corrective experience. And the fact she's even able, I say she because I want to separate myself from that, but you know, when she's able to express in that way and like not be shut down or not shamed or someone tries to make me feel better, like yeah, it is so healing for her. And it just shows, yeah, how far I've come for that to even be able to be expressed. But in when I'm in it, because we often say, don't we, like, are we in it or with it?
Mm.
And I was fully in it until I managed to kind of unblend from some of these really strong parts of me. But yeah, it does in those days, it feels like the world's ending. It feels like, right, I'm gonna just absolutely quit the business. There was sleeping bags under the trees by the canal, and I was like, we're just one step away from
No,
there. Like I fully believed that like we would be homeless. Like
no, I
it's
know,
like
I
the
know,
the
I know.
world is ending. And that would have just happened privately. I'd have just been having that experience over and over and over again throughout my life, especially in that phase of my cycle. And just drinking my way through it, or you know what I mean, numbing out, working my way through it.
But that's the point. You would be pushing it down
Yeah.
and numbing out from the experience rather than experiencing the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. But my God, did we experience it. But thank you, mate, for being who you are and supporting me through it. Because I'm realizing that, like, even hour by hour, I can move from feeling that depressed state to that angry state to that joyous state, and like doing the dance, like being able to just freely
I
dance
love that.
through life and through those different big emotions and know that I'm safe and I'm still loved. And then, you know, I got to in the evening, you know, be in the last couple of evenings, been in my peer support spaces. So I got to meet my aliens, as I call it, my fellow adult children of alcoholics for our monthly call. And I was, you know, in the moment, in it, going, I can't hold space for them. Like, there's just no way that I can do it tonight. I'm going to have to cancel. And you were just brilliant. You were like, Jess, can you remember who you are seeing tonight? And like, I'm like, oh, my aliens. New aliens. And I don't have to put on this mask or be this perfect, polished coach. I can just be Jess, who's fucking still healing from complex trauma. And I am a coach and I am the leader of the space. And like that for me, again, is one of those corrective experiences where I don't have to make up a narrative, make up a story for my share about how great things are. I can literally go, Meh, and they all hold it. And we were laughing and like, and then I had a call last night with my courageous confidence crew. And again, we were fucking pissing ourselves about, you know, just some of the real, you know, normalities of life alongside the dark shit.
Exactly. Not my toilet.
Oh, I've got to tell you. And Emma, I fucking love you. I love you so much. So Emma, who's in my programs and in our community, was sharing a story of like her recovering, rescuing, let's say, you know, her journey of realizing, actually, no, this is not my energy to take on. This is quite draining, and I'm going to have some boundaries around my energy and what I absorb. And she said, I'm going to share this statement with you in case it helps any of you, but it is, let me get it right. Not my toilet, not my shit. You're welcome. From Emma to you all. It's now etched in my memory.
It's amazing.
And for my little rescuer, not my toilet, not my shit. So that's a little bit about my my weekly shit show. How are you today?
I feel liberated is the word, actually. Just the fact that we've now got into it and we're doing it. That's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And just one brief reflection on what you just said from my perspective, which actually is that there is a corrective experience for me as well, which is that I'm learning the ability to be able to hold you in those moments and not crumble or people please or completely lose myself. It's where myself has an opportunity to stand up and hold you in a way which is both strong and soft at the same time. You know, so I think that was massive for me, I think, personally. The bit about the homeless, I just wanted to say now it's all over. Like,
what?
Like, I just had like this Ian Beale, like in that moment. I thought if I burst out laughing in that moment, like, I think you would have like
Gone in the canal.
knocked me into the Trent, like, and rightly so.
What were you gonna do? I've got nothing left.
No, like, literally, like.
I've got nothing left. That is literally what it felt like.
So I think that part I might have to name Ian Beale now.
Yes.
But you have, it's good. I think laughing about this stuff's really important. Not in the moment. That's when we don't laugh about it. But like afterwards, like there is humor in a lot of this stuff. Just like what you shared with like Emma. Do you know what I mean? It's like I think has a really healing quality to it when it's used at the right time in the right way.
Just visualizing myself. I've got the fucking creakiest chair. Sorry about this. Visualizing myself holding hands with you, walking down the street with like mascara tears, like, oh no, okay. It's like, and then I have to sit with the shame of like, did anyone I know see me? Like, were any of my old colleagues like around the streets? Because it's like short distance from the old office I used to work at. And I'm like, can you fucking imagine? But then, even, right, this is how much I was crying. And then this is how much my rage face was on. I was like, in the train station, and this guy doing like, what do you call it, sales?
Charity fundraising.
Charity fundraising. Literally went to walk towards me, saw my face and literally turned. I have never repelled a charity like salesperson quicker in my entire life.
He literally turned and faced the wall like the young kid at the end of the Blair Witch Project. Sorry.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Anywho, but we're here today and things are good and the tides are turning.
Exactly.
Oh man, should we pick a topic?
Let's pick a topic.
Do you want to pick?
Yeah, I'll pick.
Oh, there's some wares in there as well. Treat yourself. Treat yourself.
So,
Treat yourself.
getting closure. Oh,
Good one, Claire.
closure. Thank you.
Go on, Claire. You absolute legend. Oh, getting closure.
What do we mean by closure?
Well, this is it. This is going to be a little bit subjective. I can only, as always, speak to my own experience of wanting closure. First thing that came up for me then when I reflected on closure, I just didn't want to feel uncomfortable anymore.
Okay.
I wanted to probably, because what comes up for me when I think of closure, it's usually exes, it's like relationship closure.
Yeah, I get that.
But I think there's lots of different closures actually that we'll probably reflect on in this conversation. But yeah, if I think about the closure that I've always wanted after a breakup, it's more that I wanted to nicely package it up and box it off and put it away. Mostly avoidant. How about you?
I think for me, yeah, again, it does relationships, it does come up with that first of all. But I think it's what's going through me is a sense of understanding in a thought sense. So I've made sense of this experience in a way that I no longer have to ask myself why questions. So accompanying that then is a stable emotional response. So it doesn't feel triggering anymore.
Yeah, so it's like an inner world experience, not, it doesn't require the other person, it doesn't require the thing.
No, and I say that because of, I mean, I was married for a short time in my 20s, which was a challenging experience where I was never going to get any closure or even have a discussion with that person after the fact.
Yeah.
So I learned.
You know, sorry.
Dinner.
So clumsy.
I love you for it. I learned that in a therapy room that I had the power within me to create closure for myself. And actually that was something I needed to do because the power at that stage was with this other person. So if you are a people pleaser or a codependent, if you've been on the receiving end of toxic behavior, abuse, of the domestic variety, whatever that is, in my case, it was mostly coercive control, and definitely emotional abuse. And I think that for me, gaining closure was gaining an understanding of how I allowed myself to be the version of myself throughout that experience.
Yeah.
And to reach a point where I could be okay with that and feel compassion towards who I was on that journey.
Yeah.
And that wasn't easy. That wasn't easy. And I'm happy to share, like, I shared this with you the other day. Like when I got married, um, me and that person um, eloped. She asked me to marry her, and I said yes. We hadn't known each other very long, like 3 months. It felt like the archetypal whirlwind romance, which now I know is a massive red flag. But I didn't then. Me, it was like, this is it. I'd had like a
Yeah.
whole range of shit, which haven't got, we'd need about 10 episodes to go into to get to that point. But I felt ready to meet someone. I
Hmm.
hadn't been with anyone for a year or so, after like a whole range of like promiscuity and all that kind of stuff at university, and I'd created space for myself to meet someone. But then when it, you know, within 3 months of being in a marriage that no one else knew about, she cheated. And my reaction in that moment to finding out she cheated on me with her ex, and she said, I'm in love with both of you. And my reaction in that moment, quite genuinely, was nothing other than that must be really challenging for you.
Oh.
And like I can't I don't feel anything other than compassion for me in that moment now. And this is what I'm talking about.
Hmm.
Like I don't think you fucking dickhead, and or like how could you have done that? How could that have been your reaction? Like
Yeah.
why did you abandon yourself? All of those questions, which for me were part of getting closure for myself.
Yeah.
And I think that, in a couple of parts of that where, for example, like, I was brought up in an environment where I firmly had a belief that I now know wasn't mine, that marriage is for life, for
Mm.
richer or poorer. For me, those vows meant exactly that, regardless of what treatment I would receive. So,
Yeah.
so I think it was a real eye-opening experience that once I had reached closure of it was a real turning point away from that kind of people pleaser, giving my power away to everybody that I've spoken about in other episodes, because of other parts of my upbringing and experiences as a young man. So that was a rather long-winded way of kind of saying that I took my power back and decided for myself what closure would mean to me in relation to that particular experience.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that, mate. Yeah, I know that's been a big part of your journey. And yeah, a really powerful example of closure when you're not in contact, the closure that can happen in a therapy chair, the closure that can happen in various different healing spaces, right? I think sometimes it's kind of, for me, similar to that forgiveness journey.
Mhm.
And these journeys can't be forced. And I think actually it's very normal to kind of go through different phases. Like people talk about the phases of grief, like almost like different phases with closure or forgiveness, where it's like you're gonna have that ego stage, aren't you? Of like, I want to be right,
Mm.
or I want to have the last say, or I want to show you what impact this has had on me, or all those kind of things. But then I think, yeah, you're right. There's so much that can be done without being in contact with that person or thing, you know what I mean? And just allow you to holistically let some of that go, let that ego, let the part step back and realize actually, like you did there, like the power lies within me to give myself closure, to give myself permission to, yeah, draw a line or whatever that looks like.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it's really important for me personally. It was really important for me to do that
Hmm.
because, um, and I've gone back to it. It wasn't just a one-off experience as well. Like I think one of the things again that we have the power to do is as we look back on experiences that happen to us as we grow and evolve, we can gain new insights and new uh, impressions about who we were back then and what happened to us, and we can gain closure in new ways as well. I don't think it's
Yeah.
necessarily a finite thing, if that makes
No,
sense.
no, no.
Yeah.
I think asking ourselves the question, like, what am I wanting closure for?
That's a great question.
Like, what am I wanting this closure for?
Well, in the example I gave, for me, it was because, and actually, I didn't ask that question until much later on.
Mm,
That wasn't part of my original kind of closure, if you like. I think closure for me, or an added layer of that closure was when I asked myself, what do I need it for? Well, I need it for because I've now recognized 2 relationships on, I'm displaying some of those same behaviors.
mm,
And I think in especially in some of the early parts of our relationship, some of those behaviors were
yeah.
there where it was like still abandoning self
Hmm.
in order to be what I thought you needed me to be, which is the classic kind of people pleaser,
Yeah.
codependent perspective.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of it doesn't have to be finite, is what I think for me.
Mm,
I think it has to there have to be points of that where it's like, okay, closure, yeah, I've reached a conclusion here and I'm going to put that away now and I can check in with my nervous system, with my body. It's allowing me to put it away. But then something might happen down the road where you're like, oh, hang on, this has come up again. And I'm now going to have to explore it in a different way through the lens of who I am now.
yeah. Yeah. It is. It's so powerful. I think I love doing like energetic cord cutting for this stuff.
Mm,
Like, I don't know, some of you listening to this might have done some of this with us, but some like cord cutting meditations where you think about what's niggling you, those memories that still pop up, or those people that pop into your consciousness, or conversations, or a big argument, or just a general rupture that has never been repaired, like popping back up in my head and thinking, okay, energetically, I need to let go of some weight here. I don't want to go back and have a conversation. I
yeah,
don't think it's helpful to go back and make amends because that's purely for my benefit often. You know what I mean? Like I was mentioning earlier, like why am I doing this? Well, I don't want to feel these really fucking horrible feelings of guilt, or I don't want to feel this feeling of shame. So
yeah,
I want to close this off. I want to box this off. No, that's for my benefit. Reaching out and having closure with someone's input could be detrimental for them. Like they could be like,
for sure.
fuck off, Jess.
Yeah, and look, there's been I had a relationship 10, 12 years ago where I was not a good man in that relationship.
Mm,
Like I
mm,
was not in a good place. I wasn't able to really live my values in a lot of different ways. And I have absolutely no doubt, if I had a chance to speak to that person again, I would take responsibility in a way I don't
yeah,
think I ever really did when I didn't when we were together, and there wasn't really an opportunity afterwards. But I would absolutely take responsibility if they wanted that, which is
that's it.
different.
That's it.
That's completely different.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Like I think we can be the I needed closure from that just being the kind of person that well, probably my part stepping up wanting to protect me there, that wasn't a good man in that relationship particularly.
Mm,
Um, to I need closure from that as much as I need closure from the abusive marriage. Like, do you see what I mean?
yeah.
But I don't know what your perspective is, but when we think about closure, when we say I need closure, we tend to think I need closure because something has been done to us, not because of
Yes.
something we have done necessarily. I don't know, is that fair?
That's a great shout. Yeah, I think, let me think about it. What about when I think of closure? Yeah, I think you're right. I think historically it's because something's happened to me, like my first boyfriend when he cheated on me. Like I really needed closure on that. Sorry if you can hear the cat. She started to sing.
Do you need closure, Mouse?
Where do you need closure, Moo?
Oh, she's coming from up there.
Oh, great. Okay, she's coming in. Yeah, I think I needed closure when I was cheated on in that first relationship, to ease some of the pain and to ease some of the shame that I was carrying.
Hmm.
I think it's a really important thing. I think when we speak to closure of things that I've done to other people, because I'm the same, right? I know that in past relationships, like it literally makes my bum hurt and makes me wince to look back now with the lens I do have of how I have behaved myself in relationships. And at times I have reached out and tried to make amends, but it's definitely been on like my part as much as like, oh, I just really want this person to not hate me and I really want to feel better about myself. And I think that's where a lot of the therapy work, the personal healing work, the stuff that no one sees can be, oh, now she's in the little tray, can now be really powerful to help that personal closure as
Yeah, for
well
sure.
when
For
there
sure.
isn't that amends situation.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think it's massive. But I think that's most personal work is done behind the scenes when
Mm,
no one sees it.
yeah.
Um, I think that's very, very true.
Hmm.
But I think, I mean, where else can you think closure's been important? Like, I think we've covered
Jobs,
relationships, but
odd.
jobs.
Like, yeah, well, with my history, it was like
Mm,
I'd just have enough, I'd snap, I'd resign, I'd leave. Um, Again, I get like energetic things popping in my head about work and what people think of me, or like what memory have they got of
mm,
me, or God, was I fucking nightmare? Like, on the days like the other day where I've lost all sense of reality, on those days I'll look back on my whole life and be like, fucking hell, did people just look at me and think, oh,
yeah, yeah, for
not
sure.
okay, hun?
Mm,
And I have to like, yeah, like really lean into the tools that I have to access that self-compassion and that self-soothing when I realistically have zero control over what anyone in my life thinks or feels about me. And I think that's a massive part of closure. It's noticing when we ask that question, why am I wanting it? Am I wanting to control this narrative? Am I wanting to grip on and have an influence on the outcome
mm,
of what someone feels about me or what I feel about myself?
yeah.
And I think a big part is surrendering, making amends and taking accountability when it's invited, when it's consensual, um, doing the personal work, but realizing that outside of that personal work, you can have zero control over how anyone's perceiving you, or whatever memory they're left with.
Mm. Yeah, look, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's one of the most difficult things to do, but one of the most freeing,
Hmm.
um, without a doubt, without a doubt. Like in different ways, we've both gone through that and are going through that with our own families.
Yeah,
We've gone through different friendship groups. Like
yeah.
I think it just, yeah, closure. I think it is. It's just, it's necessary. It's necessary for me so that I feel like I can move on with firm footing.
Hmm.
As I said, even if I need to revisit it, it's necessary in other ways because, and you mentioned forgiveness earlier, and I think that is part of it. At least acceptance. I think we have to accept, we have to reach a place of acceptance
Yeah,
in order to gain closure,
yeah.
whatever that might look like.
Hmm.
It's a fascinating topic, isn't it?
It's such a good topic. It is such a good topic. But they say, don't they, the phrase, when one door closes, another one opens. And I think I can navigate through life with some things not having closure, and
Mhm.
that doesn't feel too distressing for my nervous
Yeah.
system.
Can you think of an example, like stuff that
Um,
maybe just doesn't matter?
the things that matter the most that I require closure are like I don't need closure that Leicester are probably going to go down. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I think you got closure on that quite a while ago.
but like, but do you see like there's a
Yeah.
there's a detachment there that I'm able to do. The things that I require closure on are the things that I've probably put some of my armor down, lent into my vulnerability, and allowed a relational attachment to take place.
Yes, I like that.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
it's the most vulnerable things that I require the most closure on that will bother me,
Mm,
that will niggle me.
Yeah.
the most. So it's the romantic relationships, it's the collaborations that have at the start felt quite heart-led, that have ruptures that didn't get repaired,
Mm.
conflicts that weren't able to be navigated healthily,
Yeah.
friendship groups that I've had since I was very, very young that have naturally just drifted, that kind of natural drift, like what like job situations where it hasn't necessarily ended in the way that I'd want it to end. So yeah, there are certain things that I can just be like, "Oof," might bother me for 10 minutes, an hour, day, week, but then the other stuff can literally fucking hit me 10 years, 15 years down the line where I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
shit, I don't think I'm over that. I don't think I've got closure on that.
I worked through that in relation to football a couple of
Yeah.
years back because I realized I hadn't grieved for what never happened. Do
Fucking
you remember?
hell. Yes. And I think you've hit on something there. Grief.
Mm. It's a
Like a
big part of it.
really important part of closure.
Mm. Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think it's such a powerful and freeing emotion, but it's one of the most terrifying emotions to confront. And I think there is some confrontation there of accepting and that letting go to
Yeah.
allow yourself to mourn whatever it is you're seeking closure on, whether it's a person's bereavement, which is where we usually associate grief, but
Hmm.
actually when I gave myself the privilege to realize that the football career that never was needed grieving because there's a teenage version of me, a young man that was showing up in all areas of my life.
Mm.
So when I spoke earlier about closure in one sense in personal relationships, like when I got the awareness, I hadn't grieved for that younger version. That allowed me to look at all those other areas of my life through a different lens.
Mm.
And I think that's really important. So, yeah, grief is massive, and shame you've already mentioned.
Yeah.
I think relieving ourselves of the burdens of grief and shame
Hmm.
is, and with shame, I think guilt's closely associated with shame in terms of the
Yeah.
behaviors sometimes. So those three kind of, it's like an unholy triumvirate of,
Triumvirate.
I know, what a great word.
Oof.
That came straight from right there. Hmm.
Yeah, the power within.
But yeah, but I think those three emotions are the three, probably for me, the three most common emotions that sit in my shadow.
Mm.
That when I can shine a light on them and give them space to breathe and feel them, that's where I can get closure.
Yeah. So, so bloody true. I think it's why I love the conscious connected breath work,
Man, for
because
sure.
it could be like the closure's needed because of that pain and heartbreak and that grief, or it could be the closure's needed because I'm just fucking raging that
Yeah.
this never got rectified and I never got to have a final say, or this is
Mm,
what this person's probably doing.
yeah.
And actually, rather than let that part of me lead and drive the bus and make it worse, I can actually just go lay down, breathe, let all of that emotion out of my body
Yeah.
and allow that self energy within me to put an arm around those parts
Mm,
that are requiring the closure,
yeah.
because I think it is wounded parts of ourselves. And when we can like get curious about the wounds, get curious about that, first of all, that question, why am I needing this? What parts of me are driving the bus that need this? Is it for me?
Yeah.
Is it for them? Like, what's it for? Um,
I think it's first of all, it's actually, I think that's very true what you're saying. But I think the first thing we have to do is actually face it.
mm,
We have to actually develop the self-awareness.
mhm.
This is where I think this is one of the most powerful things that a type of journaling can do, which is what's coming up for me from the past? What keeps popping up? Who or what keeps popping up?
Mhm.
And and writing that shit down,
Mm.
acknowledging it, just accepting this came up again, this came up again. But that's the best guide in terms of what to try and work through and put to bed first.
Yeah,
It has to be.
yeah.
And then I think, like you said, who am I doing it for? is a massive question that comes after that, I think. But I think, we all have an inner child, we all have a shadow, we all have a critical voice, we all have these parts of us which will find relief when this is why self-leadership, we're so passionate about it, when we choose to do the hard thing and acknowledge there's something that keeps coming up here. And I think it's time I put some focus into trying to address it and get some closure for myself.
So
Give
true.
myself that privilege.
Yeah.
It's freeing.
Yeah.
You mentioned cord cutting earlier, and I think that's massively true. But there's also something about taking back what I left of me there.
Exactly. Taking the power back. Yeah. What we all leave, all of us will leave our power in some way, shape, or form, especially in those real close attachment relationships.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think closure, if you are like me, that has some very strong avoidant parts, is that closure just a really nice, tidy way of me avoiding what's really happening inside? And can I find the strength and the courage and the bravery to, like you said, turn inwards? Like what's really actually happening here? What emotions might I be trying to avoid?
Yeah.
What can I be with and witness and let it pass through me? And what words and what nurturing, guiding words might I need to hear that maybe I'm looking for something outside of myself to soothe me,
For sure.
That's the power of the reparenting work, I think, of like being able to like give ourselves some of the things that we're so desperate to get. But it can be even more painful because it's out of our fucking control. So it can even be even more wounding in certain situations if you are desperate for that closure and that's something that is not able to happen. It's kind of like you're like just like picking at the wound, So how can you spend some time to kind of soothe that wound or that experience yourself?
Yeah, tend to it.
Tend to it. Your nose looks really brown.
Is it?
Yeah. Been like sunbathing, team. Like literally in shorts today. I got a bit shamed though. I went into the crystal shop.
Right.
And a woman went, "Oh, come back from holiday."
Really? Yeah. Why do people make comments like that?
Oh. Like, no. Have you seen how sunny it is outside? And I'm not afraid to bare my really, really white legs in public today.
Proud of you.
Oh, thanks, man. Proud of you. But no, that's amazing, Claire. Thank you so much.
Wonderful topic to explore.
Has really given me some food for thought about some of the cord cutting that can be done. Yeah. Because this is the thing. As adults, we get to learn better skills to rupture and repair, and actually rupture and repair and circumstances that happen in our life that cause us various different levels of pain. Like that's part of the human experience, isn't it? But I think, we get to kind of take our power back, like you say, and give ourselves some of the things that we would have looked outside of ourselves for.
Absolutely.
Epic.
Yeah.
Right then, before the cat kicks off again.
Butter wouldn't melt.
Honestly, no. She's hilarious. Hilarious. But
right, Mouse. Hopefully next episode
we'll be back in the studio.
Back in the studio.
Yeah.
Normalcy resumed. But I've enjoyed this.
I really have.
My inner teenager didn't want to do it at all, like 3 hours ago.
Oh, we had to like properly coach our inner teenagers, didn't we? Yours that wanted to game and nap, and mine that was just really annoyed. Again, because I wanted like closure. I wanted to like box off the week.
There you go.
But no, I'm going to surrender and go, we're going to do a perfectly imperfect podcast from home. And it is what it is.
Exactly.
Move through life. Flow. And I'm going to journal on all the closure that I need in my life. Okay. Excellent. Okay then, team. We'll see you very soon.
Till the next one. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you so much for listening or watching this week's episode of Have You Got Space for This? If you're liking what you're hearing and seeing, please subscribe, rate, or review the podcast so we can reach as many people around the world.
And if you're not already connected with us and are aware of everything we do at the 3E space, In the show notes, you will see all of our handles and ways to get in touch with us, which we'd really love you to do. Get connected with us, give us your feedback on this and any other episodes you listen to, and also topics. Keep giving us topics and, yeah, stay connected. So until next time, thanks for being here.